Hello, my name is Matt, and I'm making this video for drivers. Anyone who has driven for a while has ended up in a situation, in this situation I'm going to describe, and it's important to, I think it's important for drivers to think ahead about what they are going to do in this situation. I've been in this situation many times, and I haven't always reacted correctly. But the situation is this: you're in the car, and the scale is all wrong on these bicycle and car, but you're in the car and you're driving, and you come upon a person who is bicycling. And I know to scale, he or she looks huge, but anyway, the person is bicycling on the street, and this is perfectly legal, even if it's a busy street, even if there are no bike lanes. But it presents a problem oftentimes because the cyclist might be going 15 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour area. You're going 30, 35 miles an hour. You come across this bicycle, and you're confronted with a situation because you don't know whether to pass the person in the same lane or not. Can you pass? You see people doing it, and yes, I have done it because I didn't think through it very well. But you see drivers pass right by the cyclist in the same lane, and questions arise: is that legal, first of all? And it's important for a driver to be aware that this situation will arise and kind of have a plan ahead of time. So this is the situation. You're bicycling on a busy street, and to the left of you is another lane of cars, and so you can't really change lanes and go past this bicycle. You might choose to slow way down and just drive behind the bicycle until you can pass. But anyway, the law says that cyclists have the same rights on the street as other drivers, and so you're kind of in a situation. And that's what I want to continue to talk about because it's kind of dangerous. Let's look at another one of my badly drawn illustrations, we'll call them. Let's see. This one is horrible, and it is to scale as far as that goes. It's a 1 inch equals 1 foot, and so this guy here represents a bicyclist, even though he or she is not on a bicycle. And I went out to a busy street by my house, and I measured the lane, I measured the right lane, and I measured from the dashed lines. I had my measuring tape from the dashed lines over to the edge of the gutter. I'm assuming cyclists don't want to ride in the gutter. I've seen them do it. I think it's kind of difficult because there's a little seam, and your tire can get stuck in there, and you can lose control. But anyway, so this is actually to scale. The lane that I measured was 11 feet and 4 inches wide. Okay, so now let's look at the cyclist, and I'm going to say that this cyclist here, he's not riding in the gutter. The black part I said would be the gutter. He's not riding in the gutter. The path of his tire is represented by this pink orange line, and his tire track is roughly a foot away from the gutter edge. So, and then I think, well, this guy he might have broad shoulders that are 18 inches apart. I don't know. So let's say that including him, the half of his own width, there's almost another inch. So 1 inch is 1 foot. So this is 1 foot to the middle of the tire track, and then there's another 9 inches here. So it's actually a foot and 9 inches. It's any case. This is a typical width, we'll say, of a bike rider, and so let's look. So the lane, so he's taking up almost 2 feet of the lane already, of the bicycle lane, and he's allowed to do that. The cyclist is allowed to go any place. Cyclists are encouraged to stay to the right, but they're allowed to go anywhere in the lane to avoid hazards on the street of dogs or people or sewer grates or anything like that. So, but in any case, he's roughly taking up 2 feet width of the lane. Okay, and then the law states that you can only pass this cyclist. If you can allow for 3 feet between your car and the 3 feet between your car and the cyclist. So now we have a question: how wide can your car be and still allow the 3 feet safety distance, the safe distance away from the cyclist? Now, many times since I've been driving, I'm in that situation, and I know the drivers behind me want to be going, and so I've often driven by the cyclist as cautiously as possible. But the truth is, unless you have a narrow car, a pretty narrow car, you are not going to be able to provide that 3 feet. It's not going to be legal to pass this person in their lane, the bicyclist in his lane, unless you can provide that 3 feet. Because the only feet that are left in this particular lane is 6 foot. There's only 6 feet left for your car. And I know for a fact that my wife's car is a Hyundai Sonata, and this just represents a Hyundai Sonata. That's me driving, and I measured not just the width of the car, but the width from the tip of one side mirror to the tip of another side mirror. And I did that because if you're going to knock a person off their bicycle, there's a pretty good chance you might hit them with your side mirror. So I measured the Sonata, and it is 7 feet wide. So in this situation, if this is me and I decide to pass this person in the lane, I'm going to be breaking the law, because the distance I'm leaving, the safety distance I'm leaving, is only 18 inches. There's only 18 inches remaining between the mirror on my car and where the cyclist is. And so this is a very important situation. We had recently in Phoenix, we had a horrible car-bicycle accident in which 2 people were killed, 2 cyclists were killed, and several were injured. And I don't know the circumstances of that. That's not the issue. For me, what I'm concerned with is that drivers need to be aware not only of the law regarding when they can pass a cyclist, but also the width of their own car. Because if you don't know the width of your car, of the car that you're driving, you can't know for sure if you're providing that 3 feet of buffer zone between your car and the bike rider. Ideally, if you're driving and you can, what I do is I will signal and go to the second lane or the left-hand lane, pass the cyclist, and then pull back into the right lane. But sometimes the street is very crowded and you can't do that. What if you can't do that? What if you can't change lanes and you come up behind this cyclist and the cyclist is going slow? What would be the right thing to do is something you will have to decide for yourself. If your car is more than 6 feet wide, you probably should not pass that cyclist. You should probably slow down, get behind the cyclist, and wait for an opportunity to pass, either in the other lane, or perhaps when you reach an intersection and the cyclist has more space to allow you to pass. There's a rule. Okay, so I've covered the situation and pointed out the issue of width. The width of your car is very important, as the width of your vehicle is important as to whether you can pass a bicycle or not. I measured today in the parking lot of the store. I measured a Yukon XL. It's a huge SUV type thing, and I want one, but no, I don't need one. But it was 8 feet wide, and so if you were in a Yukon XL and you came upon this cyclist, and you didn't want to wait behind the cyclist and go 15 miles an hour, and you passed that cyclist, you'd be breaking the law, because with an 8 foot wide vehicle, you'd only be providing roughly 6 inches of extra space. Even if the cyclist was riding in the gutter, risking his or her life to ride in the gutter, there wouldn't be a 3 foot buffer zone. So keep in mind, measure the width of your car and know how wide it is. That way you can have a plan for when you come across a cyclist. I have if you're interested in the laws of bicycles and cars, at least for the city of Phoenix, this is not in very good focus, but you can go to this website, Street Transportation Bike Laws, parentheses, phoenix.gov, close parentheses. I'm sorry that you can't click on it, but it mentions that cyclists have the same rights and responsibilities as motorists. Furthermore, you may ride, and it talks about how you may ride far enough from the edge of the road to stay clear of surface debris, potholes, rough pavement, drain grates, pavement joints, as well as to avoid pedestrians, dogs, parked vehicles, and other objects. You, the bike rider, may occupy any part of a lane when your safety warrants it. Never compromise your safety for the convenience of a motorist behind you. Again, I'm sorry for the bad focus here. Any slower vehicle, and this applies to cars or bicycles, any slower vehicle with five or more vehicles behind it is supposed to pull off the road and allow those vehicles to pass. How wide is your vehicle? Again, that's the big question. If your vehicle is 6 feet wide or more, you're breaking the law if you try to pass a cyclist in the same lane. And the other option is, of course, to slow down and drive behind the cyclist until you have an opportunity to pass. Okay, thank you very much for listening to my bicycle safety lecture. Thank you.